Good evening and thank for joining us on Sunday Politics, your go-to source for the latest and political developments across Nigeria and beyond. Here we dissect and digest the issues dominating today's political landscape to keep you informed with the most pressing and contemporary events in politics, policy and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Tonight, we begin by updating you on some significant developments. President Tinubu, inaugurated in May last year, is nearing 2 years in office. His tenure marks the continuation of the APC's leadership following their initial victory over the PDP in 2015. However, his administration has faced public outcry over deteriorating living conditions amidst policy choices aimed at bolstering the economy. The government urges patience, promising that these sacrifices will lead to prosperity. Yet, this comes amid controversies over substantial spending on renovation of presidential assets, sparking debates about the administration's financial priorities and its prospects beyond 2027. Now, joining us to discuss these issues tonight are APC chieftain Honorable Nurudden Hammanyero and Abdullahi Tankoya Kasai, Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement, Northwest, connecting virtually from Kano. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
We'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation begins. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us, and we'll go straight to the conversation. Once again, thank you for coming, Honorable Hammanyero. Now, while we link up with our guests, the other guests who's joining us virtually, let's begin to look at the issues. Now, the APC administration, which happens to be your administration, so to speak, looking at the political party you belong, is barely 2 years, just a year plus. And here we are with Nigerians, crying left, right, and center, worried over the policy choices of the administration, from subsidy removal to electricity tariff hike to inflation rise, you can name them. And just recently, they are also contemplating, jacking up the value-added tax by 25%. This policy, if you like, economic doses that are being injected, many say are putting Nigerians on the edge. Even the realities speak to that. Why is this happening to a party that appeared promising to Nigerians, promising change, of course, promising progressive ideas of governance?
First of all, of course, we came as a party with promises to Nigerians to make the necessary changes to better the life of the citizens. If you look at the president's vision of growth and development, justice and transparency, to give a meaningful lifetime to Nigerians. In summary, this is the president's vision. Very fantastic. On the first day, he took a decision at his inauguration to strike off the subsidy, which a lot of us, because we've always had and see how the subsidy has been eating up the system and make it look, not giving any form of service delivery, hindering a lot of developments. We could not wait to see any government that will hold that bull by the horn to say, okay, no more subsidy. This was the yearnings of every Nigerian. And he came on the day of inauguration and said, okay, look, no more subsidy. Subsidy is gone. A lot of people of my generation and you, we applauded him for that. But what we expected is the chief strategist, as we call our president, to have brought his strategy to bear. The way and manner he will manage the removal of this subsidy to cushion the effect. Of course, it's not a thing he can do alone. He has field players ranging from ministers to head of agencies, department, and and As soon as these guys come together, Nigerians were expecting to see, okay, this is what we want that will ease the affairs of Nigerians. You remove subsidy, things became very difficult because transportation, everything skyrocketed. If you remember, the president took a bold step as well and said, okay, look, state governors, take this money and see how you can reduce the level of hardship to your people. What has the governors done with that money? A lot of money was given to state governors. I am not holding brief for the president.
But is it about giving money?
It's not about giving money, Shafiu. But what I'm trying to say is there should be checks. The service delivery Nigerians are expecting, it will not just come from the federal government. It has a kind of connecting effect because it has to come from the state. Before now, when there was no financial autonomy to local government, people were not expecting anything, even though the local government is closer to the grassroots. But because the states are getting, yes, they get a lot of money. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria that state governors make a lot of money. Estimately, some people say no state gets less than 45% added to their previous federal allocation. So if a state receives this kind of money and they don't even have a plan on what to do with this money, apart from allow their citizens go suffering, and every time there's an issue, you redirect this thing to the center. You know there's the problem.
Yeah, because already there is a template, you know. Successive governments who have attempted to remove the subsidy at some point, you know, came up with a robust plan, you know, to manage the aftershocks. We've seen what happened during the PTF. We've also seen what happened during even the short removal by former President Goodluck Jonathan. We had the Shuapi and all of that. Actually, every government has something on ground, you know, and it wasn't decentralized, so to speak. It was made a kind of institutional. It was institutionally designed, you know, to check the key areas of concern: healthcare, transportation, you know, and so on.
I agree with you, and that's why I'm telling you, the president ought to have managed it better than this. Sorry to use a language. To an extent, I personally feel dissatisfied with most of the things I'm seeing coming from the federal government. To an extent, I once told some people that I think the president has lost focus or wisdom has escaped him. Because, like you said, if during the PTF era or Shopee or whatever you mentioned, as soon as the president removed this subsidy, what he should have done is, okay, set up an agency that will manage the issue of subsidy removal, so that they will look at it holistically. Okay, whatever money we are going to generate as a result of removing this subsidy, what are the immediate needs of Nigerians? They need to put food on the tables. Food items will skyrocket. What do we do to make this affordable for them? Transportation is next, because these are things that people hang on day and night, 24 hours. So if he had taken that step, by now we wouldn't be discussing the effect of subsidy negatively on Nigerians. But he did not. Rather, he chose to give state governors money unaccounted for, and today we are still coming back to the center to ask him, why are we still suffering? And it did not stop at removing the subsidy. Fuel price was pegged at 600 and something naira, depending on the location. If you go to Lagos, you get it at 500 down. In some places, down the north, you even get it up to 800, even before now. Now again, when there was an outcry that things are hard, improve on a living wage. And after a lot of argument and, you know, with the trade union and the Nigerian Labour Congress, it ended up with 70,000, which is not even enough to put food on the table of Nigerians. I tell people all the time, 70,000 now can't even buy you a bag of rice. If you are going with what we call foreign rice. And even the local one
goes as high as 80.
Yes, because now, but before, with your minimum wage, which was 18,000, you could get a bag of rice, buy a lot of things, 6,000, 3,000, but now it doesn't. So this is not even the problem. The 70,000 has not even been fully implemented. Most people have not seen the effect of the 70,000. And again, NLC is now crying, you promise us that it's either 70,000 and we keep the prices of fuel the way they are, or we give you the 250 and increase it ranging from 1,500.
Even though there has been a lot of contention around that.
Yes, there's a lot of contention, but there's no smoke without fire. If there is no...
Well, some are also pushing the blame to the NLC. Why are you telling us now? At the point they gave you the choices, why didn't you ask Nigerians?
But we all know even when 70,000 was agreed on was not sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay. It was not sufficient.
Okay, let me bring in Abdullahi Yakase. Abdullahi Tanko Yakase is joining us from Kano, and he happens to be the special advisor, special assistant rather, to President Bola Tinubu on community engagement. Thank you very much for joining us, Abdullahi Yakase.
Thank you so much of you. Thank you, viewers.
Right, okay. The fact that you are already there embedded in the communities, you don't need perhaps to be told what is going on, but perhaps we need to hear from you. Some are beginning to see that there is some sort of disconnect between the realities on ground and the perception of the president or the presidency in terms of the policy choices and how they affect the generality of the people. For instance, at the point Nigerians are crying, we've also seen recently a nationwide protest that was linked to hunger and all of that. A couple of days later, we're now hearing additional doses of economic challenges, arising from pump price increase, and now we're also hearing about possible increase in value-added tax. Is there a disconnect between what you've been telling the president and what, he is implementing in terms of his policy choices?
Okay, thank you so much. You see, I would like to begin by emphasizing that the removal of fuel subsidy from day one of the administration of His Excellency Bola Tinubu was done in the best interest of Nigerians, because we're paying from our accrued money monthly. We pay over 97% as debt. So it means we are not, being productive in that way. We're putting our necks deep into crisis, because honestly, we are just borrowing money and funding budgets and other government programs. So first and first, subsidy had to go, and immediately the subsidy was gone. The price of crude in the international market crashed, So as it is now, I'm telling you, there's nowhere in the world where you will get a liter of PMS at $1, less than $1, unless if that country is subsidizing. $1 today is 1,600. And that is what is obtainable the world over. Everywhere you go is crisis. Whether Europe, whether the America, whether the Asia, Africa, everywhere you go, there's a lot of issues. But what I'm saying is, Mr. President has brought out a lot of programs. This is why we're happy that he created these offices, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement across the 6 geopolitical zones, because we need to make people aware of the programs of this government. And Mr. President, from the time he came in, Mr. President has touched virtually every segment of the society. Immediately he came, he increased the judicial worker salary. I keep saying this because the judiciary is very important. They've been taken care of. He now looked at the side of the health workers. He has done the same. Their remuneration has been given a forward review. We have seen how he has come out with the student loan, which at least every student now is guaranteed of graduating at the tertiary level. So no issues of students being dropped out, because there's now student loan. You can obtain this loan from your level 1 to the final year. You get this loan, you won't start paying until you start working, because your NIN, your BVN, and all that are tied to it. And my Kano, the Kano now, we got over 400. We got over 400 billion out of the 400 million out of the 50 billion that was first disbursed. Mr. President, after the protest, increased that to 100 billion. And then also, so the students have been settled. I mean, with this student loan.
Abdullahi,
The issue.
Sorry to interject now.
Wait, I'm coming.
Yeah, you've been reeling out some of those, interventions, if you like, or programs designed to address some of the problems. But the question I asked was this: was there a disconnect? Because if we are talking about community engagement, that is, you are reaching out to the grassroots. I'm sure nobody should tell you, you must have seen it firsthand, how people are resorting to, eating leaves, all sort of leaves, sometimes leftovers, dry leftovers, and so on and so forth, just to survive. A number of homes, go to bed with empty stomachs. So the question is Mr. President really aware of what is happening to Nigerians? If he is aware, why has he consistently been pushing policies that are pushing Nigerians on the edge?
Shafiu, irrespective of how people look at policies, so long as they are positive, they need to be implemented. But what I want to tell you on the issue of the hunger you talked about, Mr. President is so passionate about seeing that there's food sufficiency in the country. Mr. President has distributed food items across the 36 states. Just today in Kano, we gave out, we did a pilot, launching of the piloting of distribution of 20 trucks of rice. This was done even before this one. There was another 20 trucks of rice. And fertilizer were given 70 trucks to Kano. These things are being done to see that there's food sufficiency. And then he has opened the borders for grains and pharmaceuticals. That opening of the border is also to make sure the prices, when we flood the market, the prices will crash. So there's a lot being done to farming in terms of agriculture for us to have food sufficiency. In Jigawa State, which is the highest, we've cultivated over 119,000 hectares of land. Federal government did this. And Jigawa alone has cultivated over 40,000 hectares of land. So these are all projects aimed at, boosting the food sufficiency, because we know, we feel the pains of the people. That's why we go out to the communities. We organize town hall meetings, one-on-one engagement with community leaders, so that we tell them these are the programs. There are a lot of programs for our youth, about 11 of them for our teaming youth to go and key in. And this also is what we are trying to see, that we have engagement with students at the universities, the tertiary institutions altogether. That's the universities, that's the Federal College of Education, and federal polytechnics, all with the aim of telling these young ones to key in. A lot of programs are there. The 3MTT is there. People have keyed in a lot, I will tell you, from the Northwest, because a lot of awareness has been done to make sure these boys keyed into this program. We have 11 of them. There's the Youth Initiative, there's the student loan, there's the one for, business MSMEs. Right. All these ones are there. The SMSEs has 110 billion there for our teaming youth that have the potential to grow and explore these opportunities. They have been given these opportunities. Right. The only thing we're working on praying for is, yes, my brother who is in the studio has talked about how the president is dishing out. Yes, a lot of people are crying. I as well. I feel the pain of people crying. Why is this thing going to the governors? Because some of the states, they don't see it. But the truth of the matter is, before you get to open a fund, maybe a subsidy trust fund, so to say, as my brother was mentioning, it has to go for legislation. Mr. President cannot just wake up and say, I'm not going to be giving governors anything surplus to the internally generated revenue, that I'm going to take it up myself to set up programs for alleviating poverty. Okay. But it's not going to work, because the governors will go to court, to Supreme Court. In no time, they will get judgment. Okay, so Mr. President has to follow this procedure.
For the job, and he said no one should even pity him in the first place. He's been there looking for this opportunity for a very long time. He has a mission, if you like, or he has in his kitty the plan to remove subsidy. What Nigerians expect, it should have come handy. He should have come prepared to deal with the challenges that will arise from the subsidy removal. But let me get Hammanyero's, input here, talking about what Abdullahi has just mentioned, a number of interventions into billions of naira and so on and so forth, student loan, and so on and so forth.
For example, now,
yes.
For example, the student loan. Mind you, when we came in as a party, there were a lot of defections, even from the previous government. So many things that were not properly aligned, even in the Buhari administration. Of course, we know if you are handling leadership, you can't disconnect yourself with what has happened in the... That was why anytime Nigerians cry about not seeing the efficiency, for example, of the Buhari government, the party easily make reference with the 16 years of the PDP government. Mind you, now when President Tinubu comes in, if he is going to continue, remember, he has implemented the Victor Orosanye report, which talks about margin of institutions, ministries, and this is to cut cost of governance. But the student loan we are talking about, ordinarily, these are minor things that in TED fund, a department can handle it. It does not require setting up an entire institution, employing an MD, having directors to go and work there. Just a department in TED fund can handle student loan, because with that we have cost governance. A director can handle, is just to screen, open a portal, get the student to apply exactly what they are doing now, vet them, and then you administer these monies the way you are supposed to. Depending on the regions, depending on the universities, you give quota system and the rest, and with that you have subsidized education. You don't need to open, you don't need to establish an institution. You add more burden to the system. And again, like now, the president went ahead to establish the Ministry of Livestock. Remember, we have so many, how many ministers? We have the highest number of ministers since 1999.
41 or there were 49 or
yes. Yeah. About highest. Highest since 1999. And we are talking about cutting cost of governance. And again, every time we are talking about leadership, I like to make sure that we don't just disconnect the president and discuss him vis-a-vis his policies. I like to bring in the party, because the party was the vehicle that moved President Tinubu with their manifesto today to the villa.
But we're also aware of the problems, relating to political party administration.
I'm coming. The point I want to make here is this.
Yes.
If the party, whenever president wants to do, remember, we have a saying in this country. Whenever, prior to election, during, you'll be hearing issues like party is supreme, party is supreme. When the party wants to give a certain candidate ticket, party is supreme. If you have an issue, your party wants to resolve, party is supreme. But immediately after election, these are the way we strengthen our democratic institutions.
Some say that has gone with the Second Republic, so to speak.
I'm talking, but we are in democracy. So if we are not ready for democracy, then we should forget about it and then go back to a system that works for us. But if we want to continue with democracy, then we need to strengthen the tenets of democracy. If the party is supreme, parties should make sure they are in support of presidential initiatives, governors' initiative, senators, members of House of Representatives. Remember, all these people have one role or the other to play as far as service delivery to Nigerians is concerned. However, that's what I'm saying. Whenever there's an issue, my brother, we don't look at how many people have asked questions, what has my senator been doing in the National Assembly? Or what has my rep been doing in the National Assembly? How many people have cautioned? I have not seen the APC senators, for example, caution Mr. President, you don't need to set up
one that has done that was threatened. Was told to
you understand?
Even go to the PDP so that you can play opposition.
So it will surprise you now. For example, somebody will tell me you are in APC, you are condemned. I'm not condemning. I am trying to make sure we allow parties to function as institutions with ideology. If there is a system, the president should key in and work, because at the end of his 4 years, he is not going to contest as an individual. He is coming back to the party, and we have to sell him based on what he has given to Nigerians for a second term.
We're actually coming to that. We'll be looking at the statistics, because you raise a very fundamental question, the need to look inward, the need to also, since Abdullah is talking about, debts and all of that, and the need to cut cost of governance so that you can be able to free some money for development. Let me have those statistics. You see what has been happening vis-a-vis, in a glaring Now, look at some of the look at some of the spendings. For instance, the renovation for residential building alone cost 61.29 billion naira, and buying of vehicles 6.82 billion naira. Presidential yacht 5.9 billion naira. We have the presidential aircraft that was recently bought that has been immersed in controversy, worth $100 million. And then we have spendings in the office of the First Lady, 1.5 billion naira. You put together this amount of money. And on the other side, let me also see the other statistics. While this is happening on one hand, on the other hand, the government is pushing, doses, economic doses that are further emasculating the people. We talked about it. Abdullahi talked about the removal of subsidy and how it affects, virtually everything around the economy, transportation, food, goods and services, and all of that, businesses and all of that. Abdullahi, I want you to look at this and then tell us, where is this? What drives, the policy direction of this government, looking at its spendings vis-a-vis the situation people found themselves?
You see, this subsidy of the thing. Every presidential candidate during the 2023 general elections promised he's going to remove subsidy because we can't do with subsidy. Because we can't give what we don't have.
Yeah, I'm talking about
like I told
spending. You, the need to cut cost of governance so that we can free money for development.
Okay, let me tell you. That's why I'm just starting to give you the figures. The 97% that we're paying back debts from the generated revenue, according to the federal government, monthly has reduced to 68% now. So that means there's free money. Money has been freed for other developmental projects. But the thing is, for so long, everyone wanted to remove it, but they couldn't. Mr. President had the confidence and feels it's going to work, and he removed the subsidy. And now what I'm saying is, all these monies that are accruing now to the federal government is what he's trying to use to put into these sectors. The cost of governance you talked about, just like I told you, there's nowhere in the world you get now PMS for less than $1, which is 1,650 today. So it's a global challenge, but what I'm trying to tell you is the cost of governance. Yes, Mr. President has bring up the issue of the Oronsenye report. He's looking at it. This is aimed at merging agencies and parastatals of government so that there will be efficiency,
at the time more
there
are
will
being
be
created,
cost reduction in merging those agencies.
At the time more ministries are being created and agencies.
You can't, if you want to have a robust agricultural production sector and then the livestock sector, you have to separate them. They can't be under one ministry. So they're so important in our economy that they have to be split into two. That one is there. On the cost of the jet of Mr. President, the yacht it wasn't in this budget. It was in last tenor's budget. They just implemented it. And then on the issue of the aircraft, you look at the dollar rate now with what the price was. So the market forces determine prices. And as of now, if you're buying a plane of that capacity, you have to buy it at that rate. And Mike, you don't forget, we have problems with our presidential jets. People just don't know. There was a time president wasn't in the country, and then he assigned the vice president to go and represent him in US. While he has already boarded, he left the country, they have to turn back because the president's aircraft has issues, it's developed problem. And I'll tell you, there are over times that Mr. President, while he is the president of this country, has used commercial planes to travel because our planes are not in a good condition.
Abdullahi, before I verify. Abdullahi, looking at, yes, you're trying to justify the spendings, but some find it extremely difficult to understand, the rationale behind telling Nigerians to brace up for challenges, to make sacrifices. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but yet we're spending as if there is no problem in our country. Austerity measure, some will say, should affect everyone. In fact, it should start from the top.
Absolutely.
So how do we justify that?
You see, now that in continuation of what I was saying, Mr. President is done with this China meeting, and the next is the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. And I will tell you that by the time Mr. President comes back, we will look at the figures, me and you, Shefiu, and I'll tell you, is in the last 15 or so years, we've had the minimal number of delegation. This is all aimed at making sure that we are saving. But in the general sense, you see, the state governors, they get triple amount of what they were getting. The state governors own the land. The land, every land in a state is owned by the state. It's not federal. So why is it that all the time the apportioning of blame goes to the federal?
Perhaps
we should look at this.
The policy
Mr. President
was that of Mr. President. Governors do not choose to remove subsidy, for instance. He did that, and of course, the box stopped on his table. But Honorable Hammanyero is actually...
I actually want to talk about the dollar thing, because it's very, very important. Because if you see today, all the problems we are having in Nigeria is hanging around the dollar. And
the exchange rate.
The exchange rate, because when the president came, the dollar... he asks it to float, so that the dollar can get its value side by side the naira. That means all the currencies, he has floated it. Now, what happened? There is no, if you see today, most of the pressure we have around the dollar is internal. We generate this problem ourselves. And I want Yakase to understand, speaking truth to power is very, very essential, because these are some of the checks government should take,
inward.
Yes, inward.
And to look at it.
Yes, certainly. And we've been having this issue from previous government. The MFLA administration in CBN did this thing and affected virtually every sector of this country. But because after he left, we begin to hear a lot of things. People collecting dollar to just cash out and return the official rate. Mr. President, the Tinubu administration came. We're happy. He said no more official rate.
Yeah.
Let the dollar find its value.
Right.
And if you want to do that,
unification.
Yes, unification. If you want to do that, you need to implement checks on people that are getting the dollar at the expense of Nigerians. For example, my brother, you see. At the end of every month, people buying dollar in Nigeria that don't need dollar domestically. You go to Zone 4, you see people buying dollar just to keep it because they are waiting the next day they will sell it, it will appreciate. And the
speculators.
And the 1,500 or 1,006, my brother Yakase is talking about on the PMS. What would you do in Nigeria in 1 hour to make 1,005? This is what I want you to understand. So we shouldn't be looking at the value of dollar. We shouldn't be comparing. There's no basis for comparison. Right. Because now in Abuja, which is the federal capital, or Lagos, I want you to know, if you give a simple scavenger to pack the dates in front of your house, if you are not careful, you keep him the whole day before you pay him that 1,500, because you still have value for your 1,005. However, is not enough to get you a liter of PMS. Yes. And if he wants to use that to justify we are from the same party. Yeah. The party should work, because that is when I will have the confidence to go back to my community and say my party has worked. So listen to me for a next.
Yeah, we're actually coming to that, because yes, because we need to also bring Nigerians into the conversation. Abdullahi, before we do that, are you worried? Because some say that it appears Mr. President is not interested in 2027. Looking at what is happening, Nigerians are crying, yet he's still pushing more doses of economic policies that are bringing hardship, and Nigerians are just worried. Waiting, like some would say, they are waiting for 2027. Is there any chance for your party to be able to retain, looking at what has happened before? Your party dislodged the PDP in 2015 because Nigerians believe it hasn't done enough. Even at that time, that things were a little bit relatively, better. And here we are with a crisis of, condition of living and so on. Is your party or Mr. President really interested in 2027?
President, just because the queues that were coming up, Mr. President asked while he was in China on an official visit, the President asked the Vice President to summon a meeting with all the agencies of that are under the Ministry of Petroleum so that they know the bottom of the matter. It's so working. I tell you this. Secondly, I want to talk about the floating of the Naira. Previously, just before His Excellency Asuwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in, Nigeria was spending $1.5 billion every month. If you translate it in Naira, it will give you 4 trillion. It will give you 2.4 trillion, yes. That's the figure I'm just searching now. It will give you in Naira, but I know in dollars, we are spending $1.5 billion every month. Please, Shafiu, is it right for us to continue to be spending 1.5 billion to defend the Naira? Is it reality? Do we have that money? Are we real? So we have to move that so that we free a lot of funds. So these are the things he's trying to do, but we found ourselves in a situation where the whole world, the economy is in its disarray. You know,
well,
so I want
not
to look at it from this perspective.
We are part of the global
President knows about the pains. He's a grassroots politician by himself.
Yes,
you understand? And things will be better with time. We are just 1 year and 4 months now, but I bet you in the next 2 years, when all these programs and projects is put in place, start really manifesting. People will see the reality of it. People will see students graduating. People will see everyone getting what they are given. The farmers will be smiling. We pray. This is his prayer. This is our prayer. And we'll continue to pray and be patient. I urge all Nigerians to be a little bit patient with Mr. President because I know he has good intentions.
Right. Hammanyero, very quickly before we open the line, he's talking about the hope, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's what the president has even said while in China. We have to do this for posterity, for future and development of this country.
Shafiu, hope without action. Hope without action would just remain dream for you. So for you to actualize these things, Yakase should understand before the actualization of Mr. President's hope is not something that he has to understand. When he brings people that are not result oriented, he needs to change them. For example, now this is 1 year. This is 1 year plus. This 1 year plus, we need to see the scorecard, just like the way as Nigerians we are examining his scorecard. What has he done in the last 2 years? Okay, we are talking about subsidy, we are talking about the dollar, we blame him here and blame him there. Let the president as well look at the scorecard of his ministers, DGs, executive secretaries, so that he will now look at who should I change, because I'm not getting on his table, but he cannot continue to waste time, Shafiu, because Nigerians are crying. You just said it, and I'm sure you were not just guessing. You heard it from a source that people are eating.
That's why I want to bring them in now. It's about time we bring the people in. So you can call in and share your thoughts. Just like Honorable has said, we've been interfacing with you, so we know that we feel the pulse of the people. But call in so that you can also share your thoughts. Let's hear you. What do you think about this government and its promises? And of course, do you really believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel? The number to call is on your screen already. Okay, before we get the calls come in, you were making a point earlier, but then I want you to tilt the narrative, or rather to look at the deliverables, and of course, peep into the future, so to speak.
Shafiu, Nigerianization, I will use the Nigerianization of the Nigerian economy is very, very essential. What he has done to Dangote is fantastic. He said crude should be given to Dangote in Naira. And Dangote has started producing. Even though we were waiting to see what will pan out between Dangote and NMPC, because initially they said they would not allow anybody to offtake from Dangote. Now they want to be dissolved, but they have succumbed to the Nigerian pressure that everybody, independent marketers can go and take. And again, if the president will do that, we are hoping in a near, these are when you implement a policy, the manifestation period Yakase is talking about comes with indices like this. Example, what we are seeing with Dangote, yes, yeah, but in sectors where we have invested a lot and you don't have anything to look at to say, okay, with this, I'm expecting in the next 3 months. Okay, look at what is happening in our security sector. Okay, people are dying every day, and
sorry for the interjection. I understand we have a caller. Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, who do we have on the line?
Yeah, my name is Dauda from Kaduna.
Dauda, go ahead very quickly. Yeah.
First of all, you and your guests asked us if there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
If you believe that.
Yes, for over a year and 4 months plus. Anything we are saying, the president and his crew are always telling us to sacrifice, to sacrifice. Do we see sacrifice in presidential yachts? Do we see sacrifice in private jets? Do we see sacrifice in polishing president's house for 61 plus billions? At the end of the day, Yakase, sorry to say, is telling us that they sent 20 trucks of rice to Kano. Just a local government, 20 trucks of rice. Can it feed a local government in Kano State?
Which has 44 local governments, for instance.
44 local governments. See, even just locality of Kano State. Let's take Dalo local government, for example, please. Can eat 20 trucks of rice serve Dalo local government in Kano State?
Okay, thank you very much. I think you made the point.
You guys are very close to Mr. President. Please, for humanity's sake, for humanity's sake, for humanity's sake, please and please, we should beg Mr. President to please try as much as possible to regularize and normalize the masses' life. Please, people are suffering.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shafi, you mingle with low-class people. Yeah. Please tell them the truth.
Thank you very much. I think they've listened to you. I mean, Abdullahi has heard that, and he has access to Mr. President. Perhaps you take that straight to him. Okay, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good evening. Oh, okay, we lost that call. We hope to you reconnect. Yeah, okay, Abdullahi, I want you to respond to that. You know, Nigerians agitated. They said, yes, they haven't seen sacrifice on the part of the government. Okay, we have a caller. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Oh, okay, keep trying. I know a number of people have been, trying to get across. Okay, Abdullahi, yes, you can go ahead now.
Okay. You see, all these things we are not saying they are given to end hunger in the land. No, it's called palliative. Government is doing it to cushion the effect that people are feeling. So it's not we are not saying we are providing these trucks to feed the nation. No, we are giving it out as palliative to cushion the effects, and people are so happy. You see, it's not just the 40,000 trucks we're talking about that was given within the last 1 year to Kano State or rice. There are other crops. Sorghum has been given, maize has been given, so many things. People are getting over 19 million Nigerians. Yes, out of 220, 19 million is insignificant, but they are getting a lot. They are seeing they are a lot. Myself,
let's hear from
we are putting
sorry for interruption.
Receiving this a lot.
Let me get this one. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, who do we have on the line? Very quickly, please.
Okay, my name is Abel Idaku.
Okay, Abel, where are you calling from? It appears we lost that call. Okay, let me come back to you. Oh, okay, another caller. We give him one more chance. Hello, good evening.
Evening.
Oh, thank God. We have a lady. Good evening.
Evening.
Yes, very quickly, your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Abdullahi Muntaha.
Oh, Abdullahi, okay. He's a male caller. Okay, from Benue State.
That's your best. Name by Abdullahi. Let him fear God. When we die, you go to explain to God. That is what I want to tell you. You go to explain to God when we die. The day of judgment.
Well, everyone would have to explain to Almighty. He has to account for it. Thank you very much, Abel. Okay, very quickly.
You know, Shafiu, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
And is the implementation of my president's policy is what I am against as a party member. And because I have convinced a lot of Nigerians, particularly in my own constituency, to vote him, that's why I have the right to check him. And I will continue to do that until he changes and I begin to see service delivery to my people. He's not being disgruntled, but asking for what is right. For example, let me give you
very quickly
about giving palliatives. We have Ministry of Agriculture. We have state governors that you have been giving money. Remember the 517 billion that was given to governors, even though some of the states refused to collect this money, like Anambra State, Charles Soludo. You understand? Assuming the president wants to really solve this problem of or crash the food prices of food items in the market, he can set up. We have different local governments. He can set up government stores in each of these local governments, mop up a lot of food from neighboring countries, put it in those stores, crash the price so that it will affect even those that are holding, and that will make life affordable for Nigeria. Within the little money, you can still afford to buy something. But like he said, you give 12 talks of rice. How many people will get it?
All right, okay, because, Abdullahi, let me get your last line. In 30 seconds, please. What hope would you give Nigerians going forward? Nigerians are agitated. You can feel it from the questions that are being asked. We lost the audio there. Abdullahi, okay, I'm afraid.
Sorry,
okay, very
people,
quickly, Abdullahi.
a lot of these programs, I am trying to say that a lot of these programs are out there for people to key in. Government is a continuous thing. Mr. President has put in these policies. While we know there are challenges, we're not saying they are absolutely working 100%. Some things needs to be done to rejig the government to, bring in more competent hands. Nigeria has capable hands. We should bring in more capable hands into the government so that they can help in tackling all these issues and bring about developmental changes.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi. I think there is a consensus between you and Hammanyero on the need to rejig the team. Thank you very much, Hammanyero. Thank you also for coming on the platform.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate all of you. And on behalf of the technical crew, viewers, that's a wrap on this week's edition of Sunday Politics. Join us next week. We'll be back with another interesting topic and personalities. Until then, I'm Shafiu Suleiman. Many thanks for being there.